All right. Hello. Welcome. It is Doug Diamond here for another Diamond Report Live. Hope you guys enjoyed those two videos. That was actually two videos, or maybe even three total clips, back to back to back. And it was actually a little bit longer, but I had to cut it because I know YouTube will stop my live stream if they hear AJ's voice. That's one thing I have found out, and you saw him there on the screen showing a face. That was pretty funny after Gates was done talking. But yeah, they'll actually stop my live stream if they hear him talking. So I wanted to stop it ahead of time. But those two videos I thought were very interesting, and they do provide some good information, especially for people who want to understand more what Malthusianism is. I think it does a pretty good job of explaining that. Just simply talking about finite resources and overpopulation. So the main thing, though, is that the picture is not as rosy as I think that the second video kind of portends, in that, the humans that are on this planet have created a massive problem. And the main word that you could associate with that is pollution. And that's something that Dane Wigington has been talking about on geoengineeringwatch.org for many years. And if you look at actual climate change, what they're calling climate change, yeah, it's a total fraud. However, that doesn't mean that there's no problem with the climate, doesn't mean that there's no problems with the earth. And I think people tend to go one way or the other. They tend to think that, oh, there's no problems at all, let's just ignore everything when anybody says anything about the environment. And that's not right either, because we do have things like geoengineering that are happening that is fully documented, and it's not a conspiracy theory. So you need to analyze it on your own. You need to figure out, if you've never heard of it before, go to geoengineeringwatch.org and have a look at that and see that it is real. And obviously we know that there are massive pollution problems across the globe. So it's definitely not as rosy of a picture as the PragerU video, the second one that we watched, shows. So I just wanted to share the videos, though. I thought it was pretty good information, and it does sort of make you think about population and is there really a problem? Because if you just get in a car and drive across this country, you will see there is no overpopulation. Not in this country. Yeah, the big cities are crowded, but wow, you got state after state after state and lots of sparseness out there. So anyway, hello and welcome. It's Doug Diamond here, another Diamond Report Live, 10:12 p.m. on July 23rd, 2023. Hope you guys have had a great week, and I've got some news items to look at. So I've got this first one pulled up here from Hal Turner Radio Show. I usually start with his site because he tends to have the best breaking news, and he didn't disappoint tonight. Just a few minutes ago, drone attack against Moscow. And, apparently the Ukraine and NATO bunch are getting desperate. It says at 9:28 p.m., this is Eastern time, so just a little while ago, at least 3 drones hit skyscrapers in Moscow, Russia. Some damage was done, but Russian air defenses are active above the city. And then he's got a couple of video clips here of, this one just has showing smoke. Video is beginning to emerge from Moscow showing more than one skyscraper was apparently hit. The video below is a different building than the image above. So you have this image, then you have this video, and I'll play it. I'll go ahead and mute it because it's just in Russian. It's really only just a puff of smoke there. So it says the headquarters for the Russian branch of Leroy Merlin, a French home improvement company, has reportedly been struck. So why would they hit a home improvement company? Just shows you how ridiculous these the Nazi regime over in Ukraine is. Moscow's Komsomolsky Avenue, close to the Defense Ministry building, closed after drone fragments fell on the area. Multiple roads near the Russian Ministry of Defense building in downtown Moscow have reportedly been blocked by police and military forces after claims that a drone has been downed close to the MOD, Ministry of Defense building. So you can see the broken glass and pieces there. Additional videos of areas impacted by Moscow by drones brought down by Russian air defense. And then he says here, live updates terminated as of 10:22. So it says all appears calm and that the attack is over. So it looks like the Russian air defense really took care of the problem. Who knows what it was targeting? Maybe the Ministry of Defense was mentioned there. Anyway, I just wanted you guys to know about that. There was breaking news last week, too, when the Kerch Strait Bridge got attacked in Crimea just as I was going live, and the same thing happened this week. So I think it's safe to say things are ramping up over in Russia and Ukraine, for sure. So let's see. He's got another news flash on here. NATO recalls Ukraine troops from the front lines about 2 a.m. Eastern Time Sunday morning. NATO instructed Ukraine to abandon the front lines and have all troops return to the cities immediately to seek shelter. Something big is apparently planned very soon. Will NATO intervene directly? Now keep in mind, this all happened before the drone strike I just told you about. Will peacekeeping forces enter western Ukraine to freeze the war, or will NATO simply outright attack? Sadly, at present, 10:43 a.m. Sunday, there are no apparent answers to any of these questions. So that was this morning. And he's got a little bit more information here about NATO. So yeah, a little bit more news from the front lines, as it were. Let's see what else we have here. Let's see this Belarus update. Let me see if I can read you this. Yeah, this is from yesterday. President Lukashenko has just sought authorization from all Belarusian People's Assembly the power to send military abroad. President of Russia, Putin, did the same thing in Russia 2 days before the invasion on Ukraine. Does this mean that Belarus is entering the Ukraine situation? Or is Belarus going to do something else, like with Poland or the Suwalki Gap in Lithuania? This is an extremely unexpected and very serious development in Eastern Europe. So yeah, and of course, Belarus is a very close buddy with Putin and company. So they're very friendly with Russia. So I don't know. So apparently something's up in Belarus as well. We'll see what happens if they enter the fray. We've talked about the cluster munitions before. Well, the Ukrainian army is now using cluster munitions to kill journalists. The Nazi government of Ukraine fired cluster munitions against a group of journalists. Yesterday, armed forces in Ukraine, the Armed Forces Ukraine units launched an artillery attack on a group of journalists from these two news agencies. The journalists were preparing materials on the AFU's artillery shelling of settlements in the Zaporizhia region with cluster munitions. And then they hit them with cluster munitions. It says 4 journalists were injured with varying degrees of severity. And during the evacuation, this guy pictured above here, this guy, Rostislav, a journalist with this news agency, died from his injuries caused by a cluster submunition. He was in a car and they were just traveling and they get hit with a cluster bomb from the Nazis. So there's your tax dollars at work. They're literally bombing journalists. What a bunch of dorks. What a bunch of complete moron idiots they have running Ukraine as well as this country. Anyway, HalTurnerRadioShow.com. Feel free to hop over there and look at his site if you guys want to, and let's move on. We've got a few other things to look at. As you can see, I've got lots of tabs, lots of articles. Every tab you see across the top of my screen is a different article. There's a bunch of them. And we've got some videos too. So we'll see how much we can squeeze in. I'll try and keep it to around 2.5 hours. That's typically what we do. And we'll see how we do tonight. Sam Altman's WorldCoin is a precursor to global universal basic income. WorldCoin is being developed by 2 arch technocrats, Sam Altman and Alex Blania. I have another article pulled up in a little bit. We'll read some more about them. Altman is an ardent supporter of UBI, Universal Basic Income. Now, don't let this, and it's kind of confusing because you have Altman and Bankman, right? And they're both Sam. So don't get this confused with the other guy that was in the news with the FTX scandal. This is a different guy. Sam Altman is the guy that founded the AI company, ChatGPT. So it says that he's an ardent supporter of UBI, Universal Basic Income. So it's no surprise that Indian Express carries an article that states WorldCoin aims to eventually bring universal basic income to the masses. This is pure technocracy, not communism or socialism. To get free world coins, all you have to do is scan your iris using their patented orb, which is shown here, I guess, that registers a permanent ID for you to use in future transactions. Further details are sketchy because the entire program is still in beta test. Yeah, but he says, here it says biometric iris scanners being set up throughout Southern Europe, precursor to a global digital ID system being ushered in for citizens around the world, whether they like it or not, quote unquote, says technocrat CEO of the new company that plans to scan the eyeballs of every human on the planet. So there you go. So go get in line now, right? Man, these people just will never, ever give up. BIS, blueprint for unified ledger, global control of all assets, information, and people. Tokenizing the world means declaring digital value of all physical resources. This means all your property plus impersonal assets like the rainforest in Brazil. Average citizens will be given the digitized version of assets, but the real assets will remain under the control of the central bank system. With the BIS, which is the Bank of International Settlements, sitting at the top of the pyramid. Unified ledger is a must-understand concept. So we're talking blockchain here. Anyway, more about that, the tokenizing and digital information that has to do with becoming one world currency. You can bet they're going to continue to push this on us, and I think we're probably not all that far out from this happening. Probably within the next year or so, I'm guessing, but it's really hard to know. Big tech overlords decry lack of AI regulation, then fight regulators to stand down. Google's discovery and exploitation of surveillance capitalism pales in comparison to the spread of AI in healthcare. It's the Wild West of perpetual lawlessness with no accountability or transparency. Whatever gains that can be established within the next 2 or 3 years will decide who has the bulk of market share and hence perpetual profits. Isn't that nice? Yeah, big tech companies are pushing back against proposed federal rules to increase oversight of artificial intelligence tools used in patient care. I think the idea here is that they want to get rid of all doctors and nurses and let AI run everything, including making all decisions. And once they do that, then only the machine, only the computer will be to blame when someone in your family doesn't get the surgery they need or whatever. You know, it'll all be the computer, the algorithm's fault. So that's what they're doing, and they've gotten rid of a lot of people already just with the you know what's, doctors and nurses quitting and doing other things. So I mean, I think them driving those people out of business is certainly does seem to be what's headed our direction. So we'll see. I think they're going to need 6G and 7G across the board as well. So I don't know how close they are to that being deployed. 5G is not even everywhere yet. So we'll see. G. Edward Griffin on his website, needtoknow.news, there's a war to control your mind and we must stop it now, he says. And this is an actual interview with him, which is a little hard to come by. He's, of course, the author of Creature from Jekyll Island, which I've talked about many times recently because of my recent trip that I took a few weeks ago. And let's read this paragraph here. It says, Mr. Griffin believes that we are rapidly reaching the point of no return, where the powers that be will finally destroy our old system and replace it with a new international central bank digital currency and a social credit system that will exert unfathomable restrictions and control over the masses. He said, I think what they're trying to do now is create such an inflationary blizzard that people will be so alarmed they'll be grateful for a new system. They're destroying the old system right now, and at the rate they're going, it won't take very long to finish that job. Wow. Mr. Griffin wants to unite people on a local level to begin to put a stop to the communist ideals of those in government before it's too late. So there's an interview there if you would like to check it out. He's on with Brian on London Real. So yeah, pretty cool. And G. Edward Griffin has been a guest a couple times, two or three times or so on Lost Arts Radio, and we're trying to get him back on. He's very difficult to get a hold of these days, just I think mostly given his age. But man, he's still an important figure and one of the best minds out there, if you ask me. Good stuff. So anyway, yeah, we'll see what happens. I think he's right though, and I don't think he's saying those things about the coming central bank digital currency and one world monetary system. I don't think he's saying those things from a Christian perspective. I could be wrong, but I've never heard him talk about anything like that. So, which of course is what you're going to get on this show. So I do think it's interesting that he's now saying that. CIA, DOD, and the Rockefeller Foundation confirmed as the architects of Deagle.com 2025 depopulation forecast. Remember those depopulation stats from Deagle? Well, they took all that down, by the way. I mean, I haven't looked at the site in a while, but it's been gone for a while. Last I checked, it was gone. It may be back now, but I kind of doubt it because it was getting a lot of publicity, really. It says the CIA, DOD, Rockefeller Foundation confirmed as the architects of Deagle.com 2025 depopulation forecast, and current mortality rates imply COVID vax has made it a target that it could hit. So yeah, and I've talked about the Deagle report a number of times on this broadcast and on End Times Dates as well. It says one such intrigue revolves around Deagle.com, an obscure online entity known for its exhaustive data on military capabilities and eyebrow-raising depopulation forecasts for 2025. We can reveal that recent findings appear to link Deagle directly to significant players on the world stage. The CIA, Clowns in Action, U.S. Department of Defense, and the Rockefeller Foundation. The usual suspects. The man behind Deagle. So this is Dr. Edwin A. Deagle Jr., who passed away in 2021, is the confirmed figurehead authorities would like you to believe is solely behind Deagle. However, we know the truth. It's the alphabet agencies and so forth, which I always thought it was just a think tank and figure the Rockefellers were involved, but I didn't know the CIA and DOD necessarily were, but it does make sense. Yep. So the libertybeacon.com on that article, and this article as well as all the others we'll link to in the Substack post tomorrow. I always say that, but we always have new people coming on board. If you happen to be listening tonight live for the first time, welcome, and just know that all these links that I talk about tonight on the live broadcast, I'll put on the post that I do tomorrow afternoon sometime, and you can get to that by going to diamonddisc.substack.com. The address is in the upper right corner up there, and we'll talk about that some more in a little bit. Last American Vagabond, this is a website that I used to show pretty often on this broadcast. I don't know why I got away from it, but it's a really good website. TLAV is what it's also known as, thelastamericanvagabond.com. More than 50 heads of state met in Paris for the Summit for a New Global Financing Pact. So you can bet what they're talking about. It says, despite a media blackout by the American media, the Summit for a New Global Financing Pact, doesn't that sound so benevolent and loving, brought more than 50 world leaders to Paris for a meeting which is sure to have far-reaching consequences for the world. June 22nd and 23rd, Macron welcomed 50 heads of state, representatives of NGOs and civil society organizations to Paris for the Summit for a New Global Financing Pact. Although the summit received little to no reporting from the American media, it was the latest effort to reset the international financial system as part of the continued push towards the 2030 agenda and net zero goals. They're gods. So, one world system, one world currency, one world religion. That's what we're talking about here. One world religion meaning climate change. The green agenda, right? All right. So let's keep moving here. Reclaim the Net. This is an article I found just a little while ago. I thought it was kind of interesting. Japan to deploy pre-crime style behavior detection technology. The Japan National Police Agencies decided to adopt AI-enhanced pre-crime surveillance cameras to bolster the security measures surrounding VIPs. This step comes in response to the commemorization of the shocking assassination of former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe and the rising threats posed by what the government calls lone offenders. In other words, lone gunmen, right? Sounds very familiar. Yeah, I think we... When Shinzo Abe was assassinated, we reported that on this show, and I remember showing the video. This was many months ago at this point. The use of AI in law enforcement has become commonplace globally. A 2019 study by the Carnegie Endowment revealed that 52 out of the 176 nations surveyed were incorporating AI tools into their policing strategies. Notably, the effectiveness of such technology in monitoring abnormal behavior and providing better deployment of police officers has been endorsed by this counterterrorism expert in Tokyo-based Council for Public Policy. So they are getting ready to start Minority Report over there in Japan. Wow. Another article from the same site, bill that would push for online ID checks is scheduled for markup this week. This is dated today. The new laws would mandate online platforms to check the age of users, undermining online privacy in the name of protecting kids. It always comes back to protecting the kids, doesn't it? They always use the kids for all kinds of tyranny. The Senate Commerce Committee will convene on Thursday to deliberate the contentious Kids Online Safety Act, a bill that, if passed, would cause platforms to introduce ID verification for users and significantly reduce online privacy. That's not what it's going to reduce. Despite the law's admirable aims to regulate the way online, I wouldn't say it's even admirable, because these things are always covert. But it's saying admirable aims to regulate the way online platforms display content and ads to under 17s. Its implementation could potentially jeopardize privacy, with platforms potentially needing to introduce ID checks. Senators Blumenthal and Marsha Blackburn in Tennessee, who I'm familiar with, initially relaunched the bill in May. The law calls for online platforms to adopt reasonable measures, quote unquote, to mitigate the known risks associated with underage users engaging with social media platforms, such as online bullying, depression, and eating disorders. So because of bullying, depression, and eating disorders, they want to take away your ability to use the internet without showing your papers, please. So anyway, just wanted you to know this is on the docket and coming up. The Senate Commerce Committee, Kids Online Safety Act. And there's an article here on Reclaim the Net about the Kids Online Safety Act. So anyway, again, we'll link to this one in the Substack post tomorrow, or you can just go to reclaimthenet.org if you want to read more about that. Pretty scary stuff. Every statement you made about me is inaccurate. These are defamations used to censor me. RFK Jr. goes scorched earth on nasty Democrat after she slanders and advocates censoring him during her opening statement. Well, the ironic part here is she was all about censoring RFK Jr. in this hearing, in this, subcommittee, and he's on the panel there in front of everybody, and the whole thing's about censorship, and she's trying to censor him. No irony there. Says, as Hoff reported earlier, the Select Subcommittee on the Weaponization of the Federal Government will hold a hearing on Thursday, July 20th, so this was a few days ago. The hearing will examine the federal government's role in censoring Americans, the Missouri versus Biden case, and big tech's collusion with out-of-control government agencies to silence speech. The witnesses, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and then a couple other people, and the Democrats are in freak-out mode. Rep. Stacey Plaskett, Democrat, Virgin Islands, got in a verbal fight with Kennedy during the hearing, which did not end well for her. Kennedy put the deranged liberal right in her place after she publicly slandered him during her opening statement. Anyway, RFK Jr. is trying to hold the line, and he's literally being censored during these censorship hearings. Pretty crazy. Trending politics, breaking, Fox News whistleblowers reveal companies' donations to far-left satanic organizations. So there's probably hardly any Fox News folks that are listening to this particular show, because I don't like Fox News, but I think it's pretty interesting. If you're a Fox News fan, by chance, you're probably not going to be after this. The Blaze, speaking with 2 current Fox employees and 1 former employee, revealed that the network's Fox Giving portal offers employees the chance to see their donations matched to ultra-left organizations like Planned Parenthood and the Satanic Temple. So there you go. If you're a Fox News fan, they're contributing to Planned Parenthood and the Satanic Temple. Isn't that nice? NPR says, basically, you're racist if you don't want to eat the bugs. That's what this is about. This right-wing conspiracy theory about eating bugs is about as racist as you think. So if you don't want to eat the bugs, you are a racist. According to NPR, at least. Enough said on that one. And this one I found as well. The most important news, website I'd not heard of, but says the percentage of Americans that believe in God has fallen to an all-time low. Says, do you believe in God? If so, you belong to a portion of the population that is steadily shrinking. Yes, a majority of Americans still think that God exists, but the trend is clearly going in one direction. So, are we headed down the same road that so many post-Christian nations in Western Europe have already gone down? According to a shocking new survey that Gallup just released, the percentage of Americans that believe in God has plunged to the lowest level that they have ever recorded. 74% may sound high, but it's important to note that this includes anyone that may believe in any sort of God existing. So this isn't talking about I am. This isn't talking about the God of the Bible, necessarily. It includes people from many different religions. So kind of a warped way of doing a poll anyway. Because if you asked about people who believe in the Bible and the God of the Bible, I'm sure it would be way less than 74%. But anyway, this is just many religions, I guess, all put together. Overall, the percentage of Americans that believe in God has fallen by a whopping 16 points just since 2001. Man. Church attendance has been steadily declining over the years as well, which that's no shocker. In fact, a different Gallup survey discovered that church attendance is down by about 10 percentage points since 2012. Quantum computers could be truly useful in just 2 years. I saw this article and I'm instantly thinking of Anthony Patch's work talking about quantum computers. And this picture, though, is priceless. Look at his face. Biden's face as he stares down the quantum computer. Or at least the insides of one. And I think her face here as she's looking at him is pretty priceless as well. But the quantum computers have already become useful. They're already in use. They have been for a long time. D-Wave. But this is talking about IBM, and this is on Popular Mechanics. So if Popular Mechanics is telling you about it now, that means it's been a long time in use, right? IBM has announced a, quote, breakthrough in quantum computing that could be useful in the real world. The experiment successfully filtered out noise from a quantum calculation, which introduces errors into the process. Well, that's how it works. While it is a simplified test, the success highlights the potential for using error mitigation strategies to make quantum computers practically useful, even before we can learn how to keep them from producing errors in the first place. Well, that's how the entire technology is based on errors. It's based on random number generation, and it's based on the best guess it can possibly make as fast as it can make it. And it's just funny, though, if you don't know anything about quantum computing, this might be a good starting point as far as an article goes, but it's already been in use for a long time. D-Wave's had them for many years at this point. Anthony was writing books about it. Gosh, 2013, 2014, something like that. So, yeah, 10 years. Anyway, I just saw that article and thought it was interesting. Yeah, Popular Mechanics is where that one is. So I found this one as well. Biblical red heifer could bring millions of visitors to Samaria. The ancient Shiloh Heritage Site will soon host a red heifer research center. Says that hundreds of visitors flocked to Shiloh in Samaria's Benjamin region on Thursday to welcome a biblically pure red heifer, the 22-month-old cow, which was brought to Israel from the U.S. I think it's one of the ones that came from Texas, found a new home at the heritage site where the biblical tabernacle once stood. In the coming month, 2 more heifers will be transported to the town, and the center will open there, dedicated to researching the phenomenon. The heifers will be kept in a fenced-off area, and visitors will not be able to touch the animals. Not too surprising. The mysterious red heifer is first mentioned in the book of Numbers when God instructs Moses and Aaron to take a perfectly red, unblemished cow upon which no yoke was laid. The animal is subsequently slaughtered, and its ashes are used in a purification ritual. The discovery of an entirely red heifer is a rarity. Jewish sources state that only 9 were slaughtered in the period from Moses to the destruction of the Second Temple in 70. I'm going to correct it and say AD, in AD 70. According to the 12th century sage Maimonides, the Messiah will offer the 10th red heifer. I think that's coming pretty soon. And they've got several here that they're keeping their eye on now. Last I heard, there were 5 that were transported over from, I think, Texas to Israel, and one of them developed some non-red hairs. I don't know if that means white hairs or what, but one of them I know is already out of the running according to the emails. I'm on the email list for the Temple Institute, and I remember that, but that goes back a few months now. So as far as the other 4, I don't know. These 4 that they're talking about on this website may be the 4 that are not out of the running, I'm guessing. But I don't know for sure. So anyways, yeah, there's only been 9 in all these years since Moses. And right here, the Messiah will offer the 10th red heifer. That does not mean Jesus Christ. That means the Moshiach, the Jewish Messiah. Or it could be that the Antichrist will reign over that. Now, my guess is it will probably happen before that, before the Antichrist is on the scene officially. But you guys know who I think the Antichrist is, King Charles III. So, you know, if he is involved in this, he would just simply be overseeing it. He wouldn't be out there doing anything as far as sacrificing the red heifer himself. That's not going to happen. But you know, it is interesting to sort of ponder what might happen. I think the fact that he could potentially, if he is officially been made the king of Israel as well, which there have been reports that he has. I know there have been some people that were asking questions about that, but there have been people who have been reporting that during the anointing part of the crowning of him back in early May, on May the 6th, that he was at that time made the king of Israel. Because he does have the lineage, he does have the bloodline going back to King David and so forth. And it's very possible that he is, and if that's the case, then he could officiate over this. Like, he could preside over this red heifer and the sacrifice of the red heifer. That all he would need to do, though, would be to give his okay. I mean, and then it basically meets the criteria that's talked about in the Bible. So, anyways, pretty interesting. Evacuations near Philly after hazardous material train derailment. I mean, what is going on here? Local residents and businesses were forced to evacuate Monday morning after a CSX Norfolk Southern freight train derailed in Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. At least one car was transporting hazardous materials. So, you know, does every train carry hazardous material or only the ones that derail? I mean, you just don't know. That seems to be what's going on here. Looks like Pennsylvania is under assault, if you ask me. Biden administration rule would ban nearly all portable gas-powered generators. I don't know if you guys knew about this. After seeking to reduce the use of gas stoves, the Biden administration is pushing a proposal to ban the sale of almost all portable gas generators, which some experts have said would be disastrous for the millions of Americans who rely on such generators during power outages. That's the whole problem. They're going to shut off the electrical grid. They want to make sure nobody has gas generators. So, I mean, it's obvious. It makes a lot of sense to me that they would try this. It says the U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission has proposed a policy that would, and the PDF is linked here, that would remove nearly all existing portable gas generators from the market. The new rule restricts the amount of carbon monoxide that generators can emit by forcing these generators to switch off when they reach a certain level of emissions. So basically it won't run long enough to do you any good. Anyway, it goes on, talks about the details here. So just get ready. If you've got a gas generator, know they're coming for it. They're coming for your gas stove and for your gas generator. I think I've got another article pulled up about that as well, so we'll look at that in a minute. Speaking of gas generators, you can buy them at Lowe's, I guess. Lowe's worker was axed, was fired after getting black eye trying to stop thieves. So there she is. Georgia Lowe's employee attempted to stop shoplifters making off with $2,100 in merchandise, leaving her unemployed and with a black eye. This lady, Donna, saw 3 people loading up a shopping cart about 30 minutes north of Savannah in this little town, and then leave without stopping to pay. The veteran employee then grabbed onto the cart, allegedly being pushed by this person, who slugged the older woman in the face 3 times. Barry, who was with her uncle, Joseph Barry, so this is the people trying to take it, and another man, police identified as Jarmar Lawton, then made off with the goods, so they got away with it, I guess. Miss Donna here was canned from her job of 13 years for violating company policy by interfering with the crooks. Man. So here's the perpetrators here. They say that if you see somebody stealing something out the door, not to pursue it, not to go out. I lost it. So she apparently already knew about the policy, but she tried to stop him anyway. Man, that's a good way to get killed. So, wow. So poor lady, she does the right thing and she gets clobbered for it and then fired. Yeah. So, wow. Dirty Zuckerberg. His Threads platform sees a 70% decline in active users in just 1 week. Just 1 week. Poor Mark Zuckerberg. Don't you feel sorry for him? The excitement over Zuckerberg's Threads platform did not last long. Facebook Meta launched their new app earlier this month called Threads. Owner Zuckerberg says its vision is to create an open and friendly public space for conversation for 1 billion plus people. Yeah, right. They mean highly regulated conversation. Within hours of its launch, Twitter threatened to sue Zuckerberg and Meta. Twitter then issued a cease and desist letter to Meta over the new social media app Threads. Twitter also accused Meta of hiring dozens of former Twitter employees who still have access to the social media platform's trade secrets. Wow. Unbelievable. Yes, Dane Wigington calls the weather manipulation, the geoengineering, and the weather weapons that they're using the crown jewel of the military-industrial complex. I think he's right. And, going back to the videos that we watched at the very beginning of the broadcast tonight, we've got a lot of problems, and it is human-induced, but it's not climate change. It's not from you driving your car around and having air conditioning. It's because of primarily geoengineering. That's the number one issue going on. And it's pretty interesting that they're talking about that, and then they get Kerry on the hypocrisy of him flying around in his own jet, and he's claiming he's never done it. But they know what the jet looks like. I mean, I've seen pictures of it. It's green. And I think, it's pretty obvious that you could get the tail number and stuff if you wanted, but he's from the school of just lying about absolutely everything and getting away with it, so he's able to do that. Had one person there that was kind of calling him on it, but I just thought it was kind of interesting to show you the hypocrisy of not only Kerry but all of them. who are screaming about climate change when they're the ones that are out there, supporting the system that is geoengineering the entire planet. So, hacking the planet, as Dane says. So, anyway. So, let's move on. We've got a few more things to look at tonight yet. ActivistPost.com. Lots of interesting articles over here on this site. I figured we'd just look at the headlines. Everyone's talking about currencies. 21 points. So, that's one of their articles. U.S. and Australia launched largest ever joint military exercise. That's pretty wild. Vaccine evangelists, apostates, and apologists. A red herring. And let's see here. Summer of strikes. 650,000 American workers threaten to walk off the job. So, wow, that's a lot. I don't know if that includes Hollywood or not, but they're having their issues out there as well. CBDC is a weapon for debanking the banked. Yep. Declassified CIA files form bizarre link between JFK assassination and UFOs. That's something that I know Stephen Greer's been talking about for years. Who knows? Might be true. Don't know. Biden administration begs employers to pay for health insurance as 3.8 million Americans set to lose Medicaid. Oh, man. And then study shows pesticide companies hid developmental neurotoxicity data from EU regulators. Oh, I think I missed this one. Amazon also plans to build and launch thousands of controversial FCC-approved broadband satellites. So Amazon's going to have their own bunch of satellites too. They'll probably be smashing into Musk's satellites. Now, I'm sure they'll all be geolocated and perfectly synchronized. What a mess. All right, notthebee.com. This one is pretty interesting. I thought it was rather funny. The White House spokesman responds to viral clip of Biden mumbling incoherently by telling you that he was very, very clear. All they could do is gaslight, though. So here's this clip. Let me go ahead and play it. We can listen to it without me even leaving the screen. Let me play it for you.
A question about Israel, because the president met with the president of Israel yesterday in the Oval Office. This moment got a bit of attention, and it's not the only one that is kind of like this that we sometimes see, and I just want to play it for you.
Sure. And we brought Israelis and Palestinians together at a political level, and Akwa and the whole Shram. Yes. And as I affirmed to Prime Minister Netanyahu yesterday, America's commitment to Israel is firm.
John, this got a lot of attention. It got picked up in a lot of places. Why is it so hard to understand what the president is trying to say there?
I think he was very, very clear, Martha. First of all, our commitment to Israel's security is ironclad, not going to change. That doesn't mean that we don't have concerns. He doesn't have concerns, and he's expressed those.
Yeah, he was very, very clear while he was mumbling, clear as mud. Man, totally incoherent babble. John Kirby says, no, he was very, very clear. Pretty wild. Man. Okay, back to these guys again. CEO of WorldCoin, a company that aims to scan the eyeballs of every human on Earth, says, a global world ID is coming, whether you like it or not, probably in the next couple of years. So there you go. Says, yes, yes, indeed. Let's let these two maniacal dweebs scan our irises. Who is first in line? Yeah. Anyway, there's more information about this. If for some reason you would like to read more, but obviously they're going to try and push this on everybody very soon. Violent robberies in Washington, D.C. are soaring up 60% from last year. Many large U.S. cities have become unlivable hellholes over the past few years, especially by far those that are controlled and run by Dems. And Washington, D.C., or Mordor is what I call it, which isn't a freaking gem of a city, even on a good day, is, as it is filled with politicians and vagrants, is very much no exception. Says one of the consequences of this kind of crime wave is that thieves get more and more confident. Where before they might have confined their crimes to dark alleyways and under bridges, now they just assault people in broad daylight and in crowded public spaces. So anyway, that's Mordor for you. Notthebee.com. Again, on this one, Rand Paul's office caught on fire last night, and the cause is unknown. Breaking, fire department is reportedly on the scene after Rand Paul's office in Bowling Green was caught on fire overnight. Nothing violent ever happens to Rand Paul, and he never ticks off anyone who would want to hurt him. His neighbors even show their appreciation for him with baseball bats. Yeah, and try and nearly kill him. The only senator trying to rein in the federal beast before we inevitably have a supreme emperor and gulags just so happens to have his office go up in flames. Yep, I'm sure it's a coincidence. Man. So anyway. Yep. And then this one, I saw this picture and I wanted to tell you a little story about this. But the article says AI is taking over the world, and now scientists have witnessed metal healing itself for the first time without any human intervention. I think I can see where this is heading, y'all. We all knew it was coming. It was only a matter of time. Judgment Day is inevitable. So there it is. Terminator 2. There's the guy. I'm sure you guys remember this movie. Terminator 2. Scientists witnessed a nano-sized fracture shrink by 18 nanometers by itself. Yeah, so it healed itself. 18 nanometers. That is ridiculously tiny. But it is interesting. It's unprecedented. Researcher Brad Boyce did note that extensive research will be needed to figure out if this can be included in conventional metals outside of a laboratory setting. As Boyce put it, my hope is that this finding will encourage materials researchers to consider that under the right circumstances, materials can do things we never expected. And then the part here at the bottom says, we hope so too, just please don't use it for Terminators. We've already got this crazy AI stuff taking over the world. I mean, come on. Well, anyway, the story I was going to tell you is we're looking at actor Robert Patrick here, which is this guy, famous Hollywood actor. And I had a run-in with him several times, actually. He used to come to the recording studio where I worked in Los Angeles, and this was in the early 90s. He would come to the studio and hang out. So this was just a few years, really, after Terminator 2 was out. Still pretty much looked like the guy here, minus the huge hole in his head. But it was pretty wild just seeing him, and I talked to him several times. Super nice guy. We used to have a lounge area for one of the studios, and we had a sit-down, two-seater Asteroid video game. You guys remember Asteroids? And he would come in and sit down and hang out in the lounge and play Asteroids while he was waiting to visit with some of the friends that he had recording in the studio. I think he was hanging out with T-Bone Burnett, if I remember right, famous record producer. And so they were friends, and so he would just come and hang out in the lounge while they were finishing up, and then they would go, out to dinner or whatever. But pretty interesting. That's my run-in with Robert Patrick. And again, he was a really nice guy. I liked him. So pretty wild. Terminator 2. But yeah, let's not have healing metals and liquid Terminators again. That would not be good. Okay, so here's more about Kennedy. Robert Kennedy Jr., we can't have a democracy if we don't have freedom of speech. It's inevitable. If you start censoring speech, it's a license for any atrocity. Well, that's what we're seeing now. He was asked about the Democrats censoring him during the White House Subcommittee Weaponization on Government Censorship. No irony there, huh? Democrats attempted to censor fellow Democrat Robert Kennedy at the hearing. That's how far gone they are. Robert Kennedy Jr. defended free speech, a cornerstone of our democracy, which we don't have, during the interview. And so this is the full interview, if you guys want to hear him on here with Maria Bartiromo. But the blurb here that it has above the video, it says, this needs to be bipartisan. The Democrat Party has always fought very hard on my father, my uncle, and throughout his history. The word liberal means freedom and applies specifically to freedom of speech. No irony there either, huh? We can't have a democracy if we don't have freedom of speech. These people that are either presidential candidates or existing presidents, going way back, they always refer to the U.S. as a democracy, which of course is just not true. I mean, we have a representative republic officially, and the definition of democracy is defined as what? Two wolves and a sheep agreeing on what's for dinner. That's a real democracy. But they always use it. They always say, we have a democracy. Bush, I remember Bush used to say that too, and many others. If we don't have freedom of speech, it's the cornerstone of our democracy. That's why the framers put it in the First Amendment. It is, as I said, it's the sunlight, it's the water, it's the soil of democracy. Without free speech, democracy will wither and die, and everybody knows that. We've been warned about that by Orwell, Aldous Huxley, and Alexander Solzhenitsyn. It says everybody knows the beginning of totalitarianism. The people who censor speech, when we look back in history, they're never the good guys. And it's inevitable that if you do start censoring speech because government abuses every power that it's given, and if government suddenly has a capacity to censor its critics, that is a license for any atrocity. Yep. That is the road we are going down right now, my friends. Gateway Pundit is where that is. Here's the other article I pulled up on the gas generators. Insanity. Biden regime proposes ban on sale of portable gas generators, raising concerns for power outage reliance. Yeah, so quite a bit of info here if you wanted to pull that up and look at it. But yeah, they're trying to ban your gas generators because they don't want you to be prepared. I wonder when they're going to just come right out and ban prepping. Interesting thought. Watch. Cody Johnson supports Jason Aldean at a concert. And he says, if being patriotic makes you an outlaw, by God, I'll be an outlaw. I don't know who Cody Johnson is. Country music star, I guess. Supported Aldean during his St. Louis concert Friday night. So I thought that was pretty interesting. When I think of, I know this is, this is Aldean's song, Try That in a Small Town. But anytime I see small town, I think of John Mellencamp. And I know Kelly's out there. Kelly is a John Mellencamp fan. And Small Town is one of my favorite songs growing up. And was in a band, and we used to play that song all the time. Lots of fun. Lots of great memories with that one. QAnon shaman reveals Elon Musk's gracious offer while he was in prison. One of the most famous faces at the Capitol on J6 was the QAnon shaman Jacob Chansley. Chansley now has mixed views on two people important in his life, Musk and Trump. In March, after the video surfaced showing Chansley appearing to walk the Capitol, walking with Capitol Police in a non-confrontational manner, and I remember mentioning that and showing that on the show, and it seemed like he was just out there trick-or-treating with mom and dad. It was pretty funny. He was doing nothing. He was just going from door to door. In his interview at the Post, he said he appreciated the support but had become disappointed with Musk. Said Musk was one of my strongest advocates and offered to pay my legal fees, but he never reached out to me or my lawyer upon my release. If he's talking the talk, why not walk the walk? Chansley is not sure why Musk does what he does. I wonder why he's doing some things and why he isn't doing more in other areas that are vital to humanity's survival. Well, it's because he's trying to ride both sides of the fence, Mr. Chansley. That's why. So apparently Musk had offered to pay his legal bills and either forgot conveniently or decided not to. I don't know which. So that's not good news for Musk. Not good news for Chansley either, I guess, because he's still got his legal bills to pay. One Russian journalist killed, 3 others injured in the cluster bomb attack. I mentioned this earlier. This is the guy. Russian journalist has been killed, 3 other journalists injured near the front line in the Ukraine's southeastern Zaporizhia region. That's near the nuke plant. Russia's defense ministry said Moscow accused Kiev of using cluster munitions supplied by the United States in the attack. Man. So yeah, they're killing journalists en masse now. Leaked footage. Retired 4-star General McChrystal claims the Nord Stream pipeline bombing was perpetrated by, wait for it, us. By the U.S. Well, not you and I, but by the U.S. Retired 4-star General Stanley McChrystal, who was removed from his command by Obama following critical comments on his administration, I like him already, has made explosive comments suggesting that the U.S. was behind the Nord Stream pipeline bombing in a covertly recorded conversation obtained by Valuetainment Media. So, anyway, not really a shocker, not really a surprise. Kind of what we already thought. But yeah, this is a guy that should know, and he's saying, yep, it was the U.S. that did it. I think the Russians already know that, and they certainly didn't bomb their own pipeline. Impeachable offense. Thousands of illegal migrant children released across the U.S. with tuberculosis. Wow, lovely. Back in October last year, the Federation of American Immigration Reform, or FAIR, released their fiscal 2022 immigration numbers. They estimated that 5.5 million illegal aliens had entered the U.S. by crossing over the open border since Biden entered office. That number has reached 7 million today, and nearly 1 year later, I would bet that it's way more than 7 million. On his first day in office, Biden opened the U.S. border to millions of unknown illegal immigrants from every corner of the world. It's called an invasion, but is it called an invasion when the president, quote unquote, of the United States does it himself? So anyway, there's more information here talking about tuberculosis and so forth. So I don't see how they could possibly know. Everything's just going to be a guess at this point because they don't know how many people are coming in. How are they going to know how many people have tuberculosis? It's just an estimate. But wow, just goes from bad to worse. So Tony Bennett fans out there, I guess you're probably sad. I certainly am. Legendary singer Tony Bennett dies at 96. I had no idea he was that old. Had several musical hits, including I Left My Heart in San Francisco. Being in the music business, the entertainment business, I was sad to see this, but not too surprised. I did watch a video clip of him on with David Letterman back from the 80s sometime. It was pretty good. And I'll try to remember and include that in the Substack post that I do. It was good, though. He was an incredible singer. And even though I was heavily involved, still am heavily involved in the music business, he was a guy that I never got a chance to meet. So it's unfortunate because a lot of the guys from his era did record at the studio that I worked at in Los Angeles, including Sinatra and some of the others. But Tony Bennett was never around, although he probably was at the studio at some point or another. But that would have been years before I was ever there. So pretty interesting. And yeah, it's sad that he's gone. And hopefully he was a believer. I don't know. No idea. Let's see. Information liberation. Israeli officials order German abbot to hide his cross while visiting the Western Wall. Yep. Not too surprised. Wall Street Journal. Diversity officers are being laid off en masse. Companies fear legal action in wake of affirmative action ruling. So, I guess that's not terrible information. Christian preacher arrested for quoting the Bible at Pride March sues the city for violating his rights. District Court strikes down race-based minority business contracting schemes, cites Supreme Court's ruling against affirmative action. So anyway, there's some good articles on information liberation. I'll just read the headlines on there. And Summit.news, we'll just kind of do the same thing. Google tests AI tool to help journalists write their news articles. Against Secretary of Defense's wish, diversity-obsessed Biden picks woman to lead the Navy. Bud Light's popularity at bars and restaurants is almost non-existent. Zelensky fires his ambassador to the UK over a slight criticism. Wow. Video of deserted mall and streets in downtown San Francisco reveals Democrats destroyed the city. Yeah. So anyway, more and more here. Feel free to look at this if you want. Summit.news. It's a good site. Paul Joseph Watson's site. And here's InfoWars. And I think it was Kelly mentioned this article, and I had posted this on my Facebook page a few days ago as well. Happened on the 19th. Act of God, ? Tornado rips through Pfizer plant, destroys 50,000 pallets of product. I was kind of chuckling when people were putting, like all these funny memes on as comments on this post when I made it the other day. Pfizer manufacturing plant in Rocky Mount, North Carolina, was severely damaged by a tornado on Wednesday, damaging around 50,000 pallets stocked with Big Pharma products. Local news report showed the massive amount of destruction and noted no serious injuries had been reported. It went from sunshine to pitch black the mayor said. We're just thankful no lives were lost. Yeah, but they lost a bunch of their probably vaccines and who knows what else. Such a shame. God works in mysterious ways, doesn't he? Pharmaceuticals plant. Wow. Not too sad about that one. But you know what? They'll just build it. They'll rebuild it, and they'll probably build it bigger than it was before, unfortunately. That's what happens sometimes on those type things. This is another one that I found that you guys might want to take a look at. Transhumanist WEF advisor Yuval Homo Harari dismisses New World Order as nonsense and fantasy. He says it doesn't exist. Yes, this guy says it doesn't exist. Great Reset architect gaslights that there is no such thing as a small cabal of globalists who try to influence world events. Just doesn't exist. Klaus Schwab, acolyte, attended the globalist Bilderberg Group, an elite cabal who meet in secret to discuss how to steer important global events. But Homo Harari says it doesn't exist and you're crazy. Yeah. World Economic Forum advisor Yuval Noah Harari shot down the notion of an elite globalist cabal working together to achieve a new world order, panning it as nonsense and fantasy. So anyway, there's a video here on it about that. It shows the a piece of the interview he was on with this guy, pictured here. And what I don't know is if the guy set the record straight. I don't know if he called him on the carpet. He probably didn't, is my guess. But anyway, there's more information on here, and it talks about how Harari's calling humans hackable animals and so forth. So, I mean, obviously, he's just gaslighting. He's got to know. He's not stupid, so he's got to know that that's not true. VaccineImpact.com. There's only a few new articles this week. I'll just read the headlines. Eyes of the Devil, the real documentary that exposes the horror of child sex trafficking. So another Sound of Freedom, sounds like another Sound of Freedom type film, although I haven't seen it, so I don't know. But it's called Eyes of the Devil. Hollywood actor Jim Caviezel said that he's Jesus and that Trump is Moses in child trafficking. So isn't that nice? The frenzy surrounding a Sound of Freedom fictional movie has gone from hype to insanity to now blasphemy. Hollywood actor Caviezel appeared on Fox News and stated that we have to do a lot more to rescue children being trafficked and that Donald Trump was the one who is going to rescue trafficked children. I mean, maybe he wants to, but how's he going to do that? He says, quote, I'm still Jesus, but he, Trump, is Moses, end quote. If you are a true disciple of Jesus Christ, then you know that taking such a stand for truth means to go against the crowd. The Christian right and the American Christians in their corporate churches are the main ones upholding and supporting the child trafficking business in the United States. How much longer before God's wrath is poured out on the U.S., where most of the world's human trafficking occurs? So we're kind of talking about that earlier. How much longer do we have until God's wrath happens? I do think it's coming. Freemasons are collecting DNA and biometric data of children for tracking purposes. And another article, Peeping Tom Neighbors, ? New doorbell camera links to social media accounts and uses facial recognition. Wow. Let's see. Sound of Freedom, a movie about child trafficking produced by child traffickers, ? That's something we talked about last week with the Greg Reese report that I played. And new documentary on medically kidnapped girl whose mother committed suicide is the most powerful film ever produced exposing medical kidnapping. And then everything else on down the page are articles we mentioned last week. So anyway, vaccineimpact.com for those articles, and I guess link to this Eyes of the Devil if you happen to want to watch that. And then let's move on. We've got a couple more articles to look at. Geoengineering Watch this week. We have Global Alert News for July 22nd. 4 times more toxic. The smoke is what we're talking about here. It says 4 times more toxic, how wildfire smoke ages over time. That's the headline from the new European Commission report. So what changes occur with smoke over time? it becomes far more toxic due to oxidation and atmospheric chemical reactions. Will official sources ever address the ongoing geoengineering atmospheric particulate spraying that is taking place directly over the top of smoke canopies as a part of this equation? Not likely. Almost 1,000 fires are now burning in Canada. Almost 1,000. That's insane. Climate engineering operations are inseparable from the incinerations that are occurring all over the world. Climate collapse could happen fast, and the current extinction event will be worse than first predicted. 2 not so pleasant admissions just issued by Matrix Media. Not because they care about the truth, but because they can no longer hide it. Is there still time to alter our current course before impact at full velocity? ? We will know very soon the answer to that question. The latest installment of Global Alert News is below. So yeah, Global Alert News for this weekend, and feel free to look at that. Again, join the email newsletter list. Sign up is on pretty much all the pages, mostly on all the pages right here on the left side of the website. Join the newsletter list, and you will get notified when a new article is posted. I send those out after Dane sends them to me, so it doesn't usually take too much time. And speaking of Richard and Lost Arts Radio, I wanted to mention this. We have set up a Give, Send, Go for Richard Sachs, one of my really good friends, very dear friend. I've known him for years and years at this point. He's the host of Lost Arts Radio. He has been, many of you guys know, he's been fighting a massive health issue. And it's detailed here on this page. There's quite a bit of info, and we finally set up a Give, Send, Go for him because he's really having a rough time even making ends meet at this point. And because he can't do the shows and do the work, he doesn't have much income. So, if you want to read more about what's going on with him, is it life-threatening? Yes, it is, unfortunately, and he still is not clear on what he's even battling at this point. He's tried many different things as far as getting himself back on track. So far, those things have not really worked out. He's managed to feel better at certain times, but it's just not something that he's able to be consistent about. Feeling better, and that's unfortunate because he's got a lot of work he wants to do. He's got lots of stuff in the works that he wants to plan to do, and yet it's really slowing him down because of that issue that he has going on. So anyway, feel free to look at that if you want, and make a donation if you want. I know Richard would certainly appreciate it. It goes directly to him, and any little bit would help. And Give, Send, Go is a reliable fundraising partner. It's not GoFundMe, so they're not going to just keep the money because they don't like what he says or kick it all back to the donators. So anyway, yeah, just know that is available. Give, Send, Go. We just put this up, literally just put this up this afternoon. So people are just now finding out about it. And we tried to let some of our former guests, recent guests on Lost Arts Radio know about this. And so hopefully some people will get the word out. So I would just ask you guys to also help my friend. If you guys have ever listened to Lost Arts Radio, you'll know what an incredible personality Richard is. And he's probably one of the smartest people that I know. And man, he's just really struggling right now. So the least we could do, I feel like, is to help try to ease the burden a little bit by providing him some sort of way to sustain himself while he gets through this mess, because I do think he'll get through it. And he's relying on people to help him out. So anyway, enough said about that, but feel free to look at it if you want. Again, I'll put the link in Substack tomorrow, but if you want to look him up, it's givesendgo.com/Richard Sachs, and the name's spelled there on the screen. And I linked to it on my Facebook page earlier. If you guys happen to be on Facebook, you could find it there. All right, so let's see here. Anything else? Trying to see what else we have going on. I guess that was the end of the articles. I've got some other videos that we could play. Let me see where we're at here. Yeah, we'll play one more video at least. And I just wanted to mention these last few things, and I guess we can wrap it up. It's kind of getting late here. It's the the Substack page that you're looking at here, diamonddisc.substack.com, which you guys most likely do know about. And thank you guys who have subscribed. And it's free. Feel free to drop your email in there, hit the subscribe button, and I will be notified. You'll go on my email list. And when I blast out the email list tomorrow, you'll get that. You'll get all the links that are what I talked about tonight. So that's pretty handy for most people. They like to go on there and share certain links that I've talked about. So what happens is you go to diamonddisc.substack.com. You can input your email address here, hit subscribe. Or if you don't, you want to do that, you can actually partake in the information just by clicking no thanks. And you get this page that comes up here. And this is the all the recent posts that I've done. This one right here is front and center, and that's the one that I posted earlier today, just mentioning that I was going to do a broadcast tonight. So everything's here, and it's all free. It's all open to the public. There is a mechanism in place here to allow to contribute to what I'm doing. If you feel free to just stay on the list if you want for free, or if you want to contribute, that's totally fine. I certainly do appreciate it. But again, I'll mention that this week. I mentioned it last week as well. Over here on the right-hand column, this is kind of an important thing. If you guys want to stay in touch with what I'm doing, all my links here are on this column, going right down the right-hand side here. So I've got my my new Twitter page. The Diamond Report on Twitter is linked up here. Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, BitChute, Brighteon, ClickView, and links for DLive and Telegram. That's my backup live streaming platforms. And then these other social media platforms that I'm on that are non-censoring, like Minds and Gab, Coldcast, CloutHub, MeWe, Brighteon Social, and Getter. So I've got links to all those places right there along that column. That's kind of the main thing I wanted to show you on this page. I mentioned it last week as well. But again, you know, the links are all here. They're all the links at the top of the page. This is literally what you would get in your email box. Like tomorrow, I'm going to send one out that will have tonight's links, and the first links are for the video that we're making right now. The video, and then beyond that, we have the store pictures, and then we have the article links. So starting here, going down to the bottom of the page here, we have many links. This is all the articles I covered in last week's show. So you can see there's a bunch of them. I won't even scroll all the way down. There's a lot. But then that's the Substack. That's kind of what it looks like, and you can join that for free. Like I said, it's something that people do seem to enjoy, so that's good. And the store, I mentioned that last week. I added some new products, and I've added a couple more even since last week. So if you guys were here last week, you'll know I added some shirts, and these shirts, I think, and the hats last week. Since then, I've added a Diamond Report sweatshirt. I almost said Diamond Disc Audio. Diamond Report sweatshirt right here. The lady in green here, but it's available in different colors. So there is a sweatshirt available, and I did do a Conspiracy Analyst t-shirt, and I did order a few of these. I ordered a t-shirt, one of these t-shirts, and several other things off the store just to make sure that the quality is good, because these are all print-on-demand type products. So there's the Conspiracy Analyst t-shirt, which is kind of matches the hat that I mentioned last week. And let's see what else is there. Oh, coaster. I added that. And a notebook that's got the logos on it. And what else? Some laptop sleeves. And some Diamond Disc Audio, which is my music company, laptop sleeve and mugs. So I had some requests for some of those things. So thank you, guys. And there's also a ginormous mouse pad over here, too. So anyway, there's lots of stuff on here, varying prices, different things. So yeah, let's take a look at your comments here before we head out for the night. Let me see what you guys are saying. Most people do not want to hear about the truth of geoengineering with Dane Wigington. Yeah, I know, you're right, Susan says. Although, you know, the list is growing. You'd be surprised. There are a lot of people that are waking up to the stuff that Dane talks about. And he was one of the first people that I was ever in contact with as far as when I was first learning about a lot of this stuff. And geoengineering for me was the thing that really made me realize that things are not as they seem. Let's just say that. And so, yeah, I was able to get into contact with him pretty early on, and it was a life changer, and for the good and for the bad, right? Because you certainly learn a lot of information you don't really want to know. It's definitely a red pill versus a blue pill situation for sure. Miss Ruby says, thank you for keeping us updated on Hal Turner's radio show. Yeah. Is it going to hit the fan with Russia? Kelly says. Well, I think it will. I think it will eventually. I don't know how soon. I think that NATO and the U.S. will be the provokers, though. I don't think Russia will just all of a sudden one day decide to nuke us. They don't seem to be, because I say that because I think they would have by now if they were going to. I do think that they will do something major in response to something stupid that NATO and the U.S. does to them. That's what I think. Although I have no way of knowing for sure, of course. But yeah, I do think that's coming. And again, talking about, I mentioned it last week, talking about Jonathan Kleck, it's printed on the money. Not the Russia thing, but the fact that some city gets completely wiped out. It appears to be New York City, and that fits in with Revelation 18. When does that happen? I don't know. Magic is here. Welcome. Yeah, glad you're here. True Nature is here. Yes. Tommy, hello. Kelly says we had a 3.8 today and 2 fires within 6 miles of me in Arizona. Wow. Yeah, the 3.8, that kind of, I mentioned that, I think it was last week, there was that relatively large earthquake, 7 point something or other in Alaska in the Aleutian Island chain. And that energy works its way from the west to the east. And so then it kind of goes around. I'm sure you've seen Dutch Census videos. It goes around down the west coast of the U.S. and works its way this way toward the east coast. So yes, what you guys are experiencing out there would undoubtedly be some of that energy, perhaps transferring itself from where that large earthquake was, 7.4 or whatever it was in Alaska, a week or 10 days ago or whenever that was. Sometimes it does take a while, so it's not too surprising that you did have a 3.8 quake. That's pretty good size for a quake in Arizona. Wow. Yeah, thanks for letting me know. Jeff says, only those who are born again are his children. Yeah. Yep. Good point. William says, hi y'all, I identify with the brown race and can't spell very well. Where's my $2 billion bucks? Well, William, are you an educator in New York City? Because if you are, you too qualify for $1 million bucks. If you're not, how could you work that? I guess you'd have to move to New York City, so that's a real bummer right there. But if you move to New York City and become an educator, and then you probably would qualify. So you'd have to do those steps first. Pretty funny. Thanks, William, for being here. That's awesome. Sam is here. Hello from South Dakota. Yes. Hello. Lots of comments. Yeah. Let's see. I don't want to miss anything here, but so I guess what we should do is if you guys have questions, maybe put them in all caps because it's hard for me to, I kind of can sort of speed read, but I'm a slow speed reader. So I don't know. Interesting that cases of malaria have popped up right after the release of the Gates Franken-skeetos. Yeah, it's a total coincidence. I'm a coincidence theorist. I don't know about you. I'm really having a hard time listening to this evil killing the babies, Susan says. Killing people in churches. Do not cry out. I know, they don't say anything. Come Jesus, come please before too many innocent people die. Yeah, before way more innocent people have already died. AP is the number one source for truth on quantum computing, as far as I can tell. Susan, I agree. Yep, I think you're right. He's the guy out there explaining it the best, in my opinion. Anthony Patch. Quantum computing, yep. Yeah, buy your Jennies now. Buy your generators now. I meant to say that earlier, Kelly. Good point. Yep. If you want to have a gas generator, and if you have the funds to do it at all, I mean, they're expensive, but man, now's the time to get it because who knows what they're going to do. They might not actually outlaw it. I mean, sometimes they float these things and it doesn't actually come to pass, but it wouldn't surprise me if they tried it. I mean, they're obviously talking about it, so they're going to try it. They're going to try it. Susan says, I'm wondering at what point in time they'll decree off with their head. We know it's coming. Yeah, I know. I agree. That's the whole Christian persecution thing. I do think it's coming. I think personally it will be kicked into high gear at such time as the Mark of the Beast law, when that happens. And that will be done most likely by the Antichrist, or at least the one world government, whenever that happens. I do think that there will be a Mark of the Beast law. I've talked about that before. Mark of the Beast law and National Sunday laws. And where I get that, and if you guys don't know, I've done videos on this, but those two things come directly from many of the things Ron Wyatt's talked about in the years prior to him dying, and he mentioned it many times. Talked about National Sunday laws, talked about the Mark of the Beast law, and that he was told those two things by angels directly. And the angels that told him this were the ones that were guarding and taking care of the Ark of the Covenant. And remember, there's a cave temple set up, supposedly, in Zedekiah's cave, and it's blocked off, and the Israeli Antiquities organization knows all about it, but they can't touch it. They can't go in there where it is because they start dropping dead, literally. And so God is not ready for the Ark of the Covenant to be removed from where it is. So he is protecting it. There's angels that are there guarding it. And Ron Wyatt had interactions directly with these angels, and they told him that there will be a Mark of the Beast law and National Sunday laws. National Sunday laws, I think, means one world religion. I think that's what it is, as far as I can tell. Although, he's never really said, I don't think he really ever talked about that much publicly, what it was. I'm only sort of extrapolating that's what it is. But if he said that the angel said that, I tend to believe him. I don't know about you guys. Yeah. So pretty interesting stuff. I don't know. I mean, and I do think, the Christians being persecuted at that point in the timeline makes a lot of sense, although it's really hard to know. But I think at that point, though, the people that are going to be persecuted are going to be the people like all of us who do not take the Mark of the Beast. Those people who don't take it, those will be the people who are persecuted for the most part, whether they're Christians or not. And many of them will become Christians, I think, at that time, when they realize that all this stuff is biblical and that it's all true. So it's pretty amazing. Kathy says, I love the Jason Aldean song. Yep, I bought it. Totally matches the way I was raised. I know, that's a good tune. And I wasn't really all that familiar with Jason Aldean. I mean, I'm in the music business. You would think I would listen to this guy, but I don't. I really don't listen to much of anything on the radio. I grew up on 80s music, so if I turn the radio on, I'm listening to 80s music. It's just what I love. And for a living, though, I listen to independent music, which is stuff that you don't necessarily hear on the radio. You might hear there's a few artists like that on Sirius XM, but most of what I'm dealing with is independent artists who are not signed, and they are music. It's music that I'm either working on firsthand, engineering, mixing, mastering it, and or helping to try and place it if it's really good in some sort of media outlet, whatever it is. Could be retail, could be radio, could be, what else? Could be film and TV, could be commercials, could be placing it in, video games, who knows? It has to be really, really good music. So that's the type of stuff I'm working on. Not really stuff like Jason Aldean. I mean, obviously he has a mastering engineer, but it's not up to him to choose that person. That's chosen by the record company. And I don't really work with major artists like that much of anymore, but yeah, I know it's a really good song. I really enjoyed it, and the music video is really good too, with all the clips in there of the Antifa rioting and so forth. Wow. Susan says, Robert Patrick, you never fail to crack me up at least once in every broadcast. That's funny. Susan says, yep. Robert Patrick. Yeah, that was my Robert Patrick story. Him playing Asteroids at Ocean Way Recording. Pretty funny. Yeah, I liked Robert. He was a good guy. Kelly says, by the way, Doug, what did you play and do in the band? Now you're getting into the history of Doug Diamond. Well, yeah, I was in a band in high school, and I was a drummer. And now my daughter is a drummer. So yeah, I guess it runs in the family. I'm still a drummer. I still play. I've got, 4 or 5 drum sets that do different things. And I still love it, although I don't make a living at that anymore. And I did actually as a youngster, playing in a band. I mean, we were making some pretty good money for the 80s. We'd play the local festivals and stuff like that. And we were pretty well known in that area in Indiana where I grew up. And it was a lot of fun. And me and one of the guys from the band moved to Los Angeles and tried to keep it going. And you know how that goes. Didn't really work out. He's still actually out there. He's still working in the music business as well. And I ended up moving to Nashville, and I'm still in the music business too. I just do a lot different type of thing than what I thought I was going to do. But that's life. So yeah, but the engineering thing really worked well with me, with my mentality and how I do things. So. But yeah, started out as a drummer in a rock band. Yep. Pretty wild. At this point, we have neither a representative Republic or Democratic system, Verba Homefront says. They put in who they want, and by they, I mean the Federal Reserve, a.k.a. the occult Luciferians, from my understanding. Yes, I don't disagree. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, that's why I was trying to say that the system we have in place, on paper at least, is a representative republic. But of course, like Franklin said, if we can keep it, I'm not sure we've kept it. Doesn't seem like it. So yeah, good for Italy, Emily says. Yeah, they're going to keep their women born, the humans who are born women are qualified to be in the pageant. Yeah. Gee, what's our next pandemic? Malaria, TB, or Marburg? I know. Good question. I don't know. I might not be any of those things. I sort of think they're leaning toward climate lockdowns. I think it's going to be climate, but we'll see. Tony Bennett was a good guy, not connected. Is that right? I don't know. I don't really know much about him. I mean, other than he was a good singer. But that's good if that's the case. It seems like he didn't sell out, Susan says. Yeah, I know. I hope not. I like a lot of those older guys. I mean, Sinatra was always, he's one of my favorites going way back. The pallets in the Pfizer plant contained. The Rocky Mount plant is one of the largest factories for sterile injectable medicines in the world. Its products include anesthesia, painkillers, and anti-infective medicines for use in hospitals. Nearly 25% of Pfizer's sterile injectables used in U.S. hospitals are produced there, according to the website. Okay. Well, thanks, Betty. Yeah. I didn't really know what it was, but it is interesting that it was Pfizer that took the hit there. Pretty wild. And they say, was it an act of God? I don't know. It might have been a weather weapon that went haywire or something. Who knows? Kelly says, so sad for Richard. I will donate. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you very much. Yeah, I know he'll appreciate that. Like I said, anything you guys can do to help him, the money goes directly to him. It doesn't go anywhere else. No one else gets a dime of it. Well, the credit card companies, I guess, keep a little bit. But, Give, Send, Go is pretty cool. I'd not really ever set up a campaign until I helped do this one. And, the way it works with them is you can choose how much, if any, you want to give to them. Like they will take zero, except for whatever is subtracted for the credit card companies, which you can't help. That's just a built-in fee. Credit card companies are going to charge what they charge, no matter what it's for. So a few percent, whatever, I don't know, 2 or 3% or something like that for credit card fee. And then you can choose whether you want to give any percentage at all to Give, Send, Go, or you can totally not give them anything. Of course, we chose to give them some as well because it's their system we're using. But I think that's pretty cool. And then the money goes straight to the person that's the benefactor. So Richard will get all of it, minus a couple percent for the credit card companies. Pretty cool. So yeah, I thank you very much, Kelly, and whoever else who decides to help out Richard. I know he'll really appreciate it. Yes, truly incredible person. Prayers, shares, and gifts for Richard has given. Really a devoted man, Susan says. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I know he'll appreciate that as well. And he does listen to some of these broadcasts, so he might hear this. Thank you, Doug. I'll put Richard on my prayer list and donate as well. Thank you, Emily. Yeah, Richard is not a Christian in the standpoint of believing that Jesus died for his sins. He doesn't really think that way. You know what I mean? He doesn't really approach life that way. And we've talked endlessly about this kind of stuff. And that's his decision. And it goes way back, I think, for him. But it's interesting, and I think you can probably pick up on that by listening to him talk. But he's one of the most intelligent people I think I've ever even been around at all. And I've had the pleasure of being a friend of his since I first started talking to him. I guess it was 2014, so it's been 9 years, something like that. So yeah, quite a while. We've had Lost Arts Radio going for most of that period of time, so pretty wild. He and I started that in 2014, at the end of the year 2014, and first shows were in January of 2015, so we've been going a long time. I think we're up to, I don't know, 400 shows or something like that. And that's just the interview shows. There have been other shows we've done mixed in as well. So yeah, I've known him for quite some time, and he's an incredible guy. Same goes for you, Doug. Prayers, shares, and gratitude for all your devotion to condensing all the most relevant events unfolding. Busy world, busy work. You're welcome, Susan. Thank you. I appreciate the nice words there. And yeah, absolutely. I'm doing this for you guys. I'm doing it for myself too, because this way I'm able to kind of keep up with what's going on in the world. And I try and do that during the week. I listen to different things and different podcasts. Different people send me videos, and I watch those. I watched a really good Hugo Talks video right before I went live tonight. Stuff like that. People send it to me, and I try and watch as much as I can. Obviously, you can't watch everything. But that's how you stay in focused and stay in the news, like stay relevant with what's going on. So yeah, trying to do that. So you're welcome. Kelly says, praying for Richard's salvation then. Thank you, Kelly. Yeah, I have been too. And thank you guys if you don't mind doing that. And I think he's open to it. I just don't know what the deal is. There's certain things that people can't quite get past, for whatever reasons. And, the intellectuals seem to struggle with good news. I think you're right. I think that is, that's a big part of it, from what I gather. But I don't know. Well, neat. Well, thank you, guys. Thank you. Yes. So let's see here. We are well into it. Well into the night here. It's pushing 1 a.m. here. So let's see. Let's play one more video. I've got several more to look at. I'm going to play this one. It's a little bit long. It's about 10 minutes or so. No, it's about 10 minutes, give or take a little. And this is pretty interesting. I want to play it last because it's one of those things where if they decide to cut off my live stream, at least I've been here all this time, and they didn't cut it off at the beginning of the show. If I showed this early on, you know what I mean? Like if I show this early and they cut the live stream, then we're done for the night. I don't think they will, but it is interesting. It's called Transgender Empire, and it's the beginnings of the whole transgender thing and where it came from. And I think it's really interesting. I think it's certainly worth a watch. I don't know that you guys would have seen it. So yeah, thank you guys. And certainly appreciate your time tonight. We got a lot done tonight, didn't we? We talked about quite a bit. We'll do it again next Sunday night at 10 p.m. Central Time. And again, if something big happens, I'll jump on here and do another broadcast. So far, so good. We haven't had to do that, but I mean, I've been known to sort of surprise people and do other broadcasts here and there. So I may try and do that. It's just hard when you have so many other balls in the air. Lots of stuff going on. So it's very possible that we'll do another show at some point. During the day. One day during the week. It may not be this week, but just so you know, if I just show up with sort of unannounced at some point, that could happen. So I'll just kind of leave it on the table. So yeah, thank you guys for being here. Let's watch this last one here. It's called Transgender Empire. Hope you guys have a great week, and I'll talk to you again very soon.